Yeah.
Okay, good. Hello and welcome to That Guy's a Maniac, the podcast DS. We are a podcast about video games. My name is Richie. With me, as always, is Farley, aka Kunzi11, who, in between having an existential life breakdown, will say hello, explain why we are called DS this season, and tell you where to find us on the internet.
Yes, in order. Hello. Number 2. You remember the DS? We're doing podcasts like a DS for a season. Some DS games had DS titles, subtitles. For example, Energy, ENER-G, Dance Squad, which is a touch screen choreography game.
Okay, so the DS would be Dance Squad.
Dance Squad. I think that's just a game which happens to have a DNS in its title, but the Energy is not a thing on its own. Anyway, that's what we're doing. We have a big bag of Ds, a big bag of S's, and we made it at the beginning of the season, and now we pick one out. Pick out a D, Richie, pick out a D.
Okay, but you need to tell everybody where to find us on the internet first.
Find us on www.thatguys.co.uk. Before we started recording, I was telling Richie how I almost wrote a blog.
Awesome.
But didn't. So check back in 3 years' time to see if that's happened.
And also on the socials.
That guy's a maniac. We don't post anything anywhere.
We are in Threads as well now.
Hey!
We can not post there as well.
Find out. Basically, if you listen to this, this is all we're doing now. That's all we have time for in our decrepit lives.
And we barely have time for this either.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So don't bother checking the socials, because you got here. This is it. It's just going to be more of this, and you're already here.
I don't know. Sometimes there are little glimpses of wisdom on the socials. You used to take pictures of like games-related stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, no, I just don't do that even. Because all you get is just bots. Bots and algorithms and spam.
Yep.
And your little heart skips a beat. Oh, possible segue. Your little heart skips a beat. And then you look and it's like, oh, look, it's a sexy lady with a picture and no posts liking our tweet about the podcast.
Yeah, and underneath her name is just some link to a very clearly dodgy website that you wouldn't click on for. Yeah.
I mean, just in case some of those people are legitimate listeners, and we bizarrely have some Russian fan base. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Like, we're not going to discriminate too much.
No. Keep an eye on our socials for updates.
Yeah, all of them.
News, previews, and reviews from the world of gaming.
That's what we're all about here. That guy's a maniac.
Listen, I know we're still in the preamble.
Yeah. It's a pretty solid preamble.
Have you played a game released this year?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've played quite a few games that were released this year. I played Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I played World of Warcraft that was released. No, okay.
No. Baldur's Gate? You play Baldur's Gate?
Oh, yeah. Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, really enjoyed that. I played quite a few other ones. Double Dragon came out this year, which we talked about in another one.
Look at you.
There was a few others. There was the Cats and Hidden Cats one that we talked about.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Got down with the kids.
Yeah. There's lots of them.
I played a lot of games that have been re-released this year originally.
Mortal Kombat 1. We have to talk about Mortal Kombat in every single podcast. Sorry.
I think that counts, right? I played Metroid Prime the first time it came out. I played Tetris. I played Resident Evil 4 when it first came out. If you play one Street Fighter, you've played them all. I played Xenoblade Chronicles 1. You don't need to play all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I've watched a Spider-Man movie. You don't need to play a Spider-Man game. Oh, fuck. Quake 2.
Okay.
The re-release.
Oh, is that... Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. You played a game this year.
Oh, that's actually great, that game. I played Ghost Trip when it first came out. Anyway, so the premise of this season is that guy's a Maniac DS, like the Nintendo DS. Although we don't really talk about the DS, just roll with it. Richie, you've got some Ds, pick out a D. There's a good bag of Ds. Random episode generation.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to put my hand in the big bag of Ds.
Got the thing for the sound of that.
And I have pulled out... Oh, there's 2 stuck together again.
Oh.
Listen, just before I announce this,
the suspense.
No, you just you gotta give a bit of energy, man. We've had this conversation before.
What's your D's?
My D's are Doki Doki.
Doki. Mine's Sucky.
Oh wow, dude.
Doki. Sucky.
Doki Sucky.
So we're gonna talk about Doki, and then we're gonna have a break. We call it break time. We do a quiz, and then we'll do Sucky.
We'll have a break, and then we'll continue on with the drudgery of our lives.
This is the highlight of my week. I get to have a fake conversation with my friend.
Fake?
Sorry, I get to have a conversation with a fake friend.
Yeah, there we go.
So the reason why we picked, Doki randomly came out of our bag is because Pokemon Company has started collaborating with Vocaloid super songstress Hatsune Miku. I don't think I've ever had to say that out loud. And they started releasing some songs, and the songs are quite good, actually. We've been sort of listening to them as they come out.
And quite good is a fucking understatement.
Yeah, they're exceptional.
Yes.
They're exceptional. They quite heavily they use clips and sound effects from the Pokemon series of games.
Yeah, they rearrange like the old sort of chip tunes from the original Lavender Town and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just so good.
All of them use Lavender Town.
Well, yeah.
All of them. And all of them use the Pokemon Center thing. Anyway, in one of them, I can't remember what it's called, Volt Tackle, very good one, first one.
Yeah.
Recommend listening to it. It tells a little story about Hatsune Miku. She's trying to capture something. I loved one with a love ball. And, it's kind of, the metaphor is that it's like a Pokemon fight and she's doing moves, but they're not super effective, etc. And then she kind of has a downward bit in the curve where she loses heart. And then Pikachu cheers her up. And then twice in it, they kind of throw a Pokeball. And in classic Pokemon style, they're waiting for the ball to dit, and then you find out whether it catches or not. And in the video for that, there's a border around the Pokeball that says Doki time. I thought, what does Doki mean? I knew it from Doki Literature Club, but I never really thought about. I didn't really. And it's the Japanese kind of sound symbolism, I guess, for the sound of a beating heart.
The racing or the increasingly fast beating of a heart or something like that. It's like
Doki. And it's always interesting to see in different languages, like common, like the noises that cats make in different languages.
Nyan. Yeah.
And so, inspired by that, I then played Doki Literature Club. such a weird inspiration, but Richie's been whinging at me for ages to play that. I did. I quite enjoyed it, but I'm coming to this like 6 years too late.
It just got a re-release.
Yeah, I don't like the. Do you know what? Here's a hot take on Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
In its original form, there's a purity there about subverting, and it's not the first kind of subversion of a visual novel. There was something magical there about the subversion
Yeah.
of a visual novel, but then the subsequent success of the game, and now there's like an expansion, and now there's a mode where you talk to the woman at the end of time, and that's actually comes alive. You've just undermined the vision,
I agree.
I mean, I can totally fucking understand, with that much interest. How do I capitalize on that? Let's make some bank. But yeah, a bit disappointed. Why do we have to run everything to the ground?
No, I know, and I think when I was told about it, and I can't even remember how I got intrigued by it. It actually might have been Kotaku, but it was like, this game is so good, just play it. I'm not going to say anything more, and for some reason it resonated, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to check this out. And it was around Halloween time, and like people had said it's like a survival horror, and I was like, what? How is a virtual novel like a survival horror? And it is.
Kind of.
Like, kind of like
survival novel, a horror novel.
Yeah.
Well, what's weird about it is I've not really played that many virtual novel games, so it seems weird. But I know enough about them to understand what's being subverted. So yeah, it's kind of weird that it's probably like the third or fourth one that I've played, and you still get what's going on and all the references. And they make some funny in jokes, about it's not a Japanese developed game, but they are they are Japanese with Japanese characterisms and background art, etc.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah, it's very good.
I mean, I couldn't even name any virtual novels that I've played, but it's like, yeah, it's weird how you know exactly what it is. You know that you've got one button to press, and that's it. You're just reading a book, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At your own pace. But I thought I'd take the idea of Doki Doki being the heartbeat to think about emotional states which games are very good at inspiring. Because although there's a lot of talk about, games that make you cry, games which are scary, I can't really think of games which quite do solicit those emotions in the same way that like a film will, right? That you sit around and be like, oh yeah, this film was fucking great. Because video games are like more of a slow burn.
Yeah.
So there's very few. Anyway, let's go through the 6 emotions and tell me which game springs to mind.
6 emotions, okay.
Thinking about, getting the heart going. So the first one is happiness, Richie. When you think of happiness in video games, what game is there?
Weirdly, I just gravitated to Katamari Damacy.
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird pull.
Well, I think there's a lot of dopamine to get from like creating the big ball and then collecting all of the stuff, and I think when you do that and you succeed, and with all of the sort of chirpy, super positiveness around it, I think it's a game that makes me happy.
Yeah.
But there's you can get that feeling from a lot of things. It's like when you absolutely nail a boss in Devil May Cry or something like that. Like, you don't get hit once and you manage to just full on do the chain combo without actually having to duck away and like shoot him from afar. And stuff like that. That I don't know. I guess that the dopamine hits is a general thing that you're gonna get in games, but for some reason, Katamari Damacy, it gives a, I don't know. I think happiness because it is generally quite a positively and chirpy game.
Yeah, I think it's a really good shout, and it wears off. I think after a while, but that just kind of being transfixed and just driven by like silly joy, just rolling and collecting things. And there's no, there's not really there's not a strategy per se. It's not about mastery, as you talk about in your second example. It's just what an amazing little, fun sandbox.
And there's little things you can do, like you can do the whole thing where you waggle the joysticks to go faster.
Yeah,
that's a good feeling. That's a visceral, raw happiness.
Yeah, and to me that's like a more of a genuine happiness than the kind of satisfaction, like you say, in pulling off a triple S combo, which will be really fleeting. Like yes, yeah, I'm sure we've all done silly thing, like challenge modes where you spend hours doing the same thing over and over again, right? To the point, I remember the I think it's in Smash Brothers Melee where they had the smash the targets.
Yeah.
And some of them were very easy.
Yeah.
And some of them were, you had to get all 10 targets and some of them were just really, really difficult to get. So you throw yourself at them and spend a lot of time doing them. And then once you did it, all of those hours or minutes of trialing and getting it all in one run is a happy feeling, but it's so
fleeting.
Fleeting, yeah. You're like, okay, and now I've done that, and now on to the next. The next challenge.
Yeah, no, I kind of get what you mean. I actually was thinking about when I finally managed to get in Killer Instinct Orchid's like 64 hit, whatever it was,
Yeah.
Managing to absolutely nail that perfectly.
Yeah.
And, like, there was an achievement attached to it. There was no menu attached to it. There was just the ultra. When you actually did it on the SNES.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that was just literally hours and hours and hours of reading in the magazine the buttons you're supposed to press.
Yeah.
Getting it correct and
setting up a dummy match against a non-moving opponent.
Yeah, Cinder.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, so I would say my happiness is Katamari Damacy. What about you?
Yeah, it's a good question. There are games which I obviously have put lots of time into and I generate a satisfaction from, but it's not, when I'm Pokemon spreadsheeting, it's not with a smile on my face, as I evolve the 15th fucking Togetic for some arbitrary number to go up somewhere. That's a different kind of satisfaction. That's like a organizational, I don't know, putting in the time, like I guess like growing a plant, right, or something that kind of level. But for me, thinking about games and happiness, I think the happiest times or the happiest games have made me, it's just everything that springs to mind is playing a game couch co-op, be it Rallycross, Smash Brothers, Quake, Project Eden, that stupid time we set up Resident Evil 2 on 2 TVs and played it competitively. It's that human interaction side of things. It's not necessarily what's going on in the game, although the games have to be good and have like a really fun play loop. It's more that experiencing it together. And the times when we've not been able to move, right? Just rolling on the floor, grabbing your ribs, like, oh God, stop it, I can't laugh, has been because of some interaction about a game, or you both know enough about a game to see something stupid that's happened that triggers some effect. Yeah, so for me, I think it's playing games with other people in the room, and that's the important thing about it. And I was reminded of this because I went around to a friend's house and they've got 3 children and they've just got Smash Brothers for the Switch. I kind of know that I play video games, and they're like, do you fancy playing? I just had the best time, and I mean, straight away, I don't really know these children particularly well, but straight away, like the ribbing and the name calling and the, just the trying to put each other off just naturally comes out. And I think that's when I've been happiest playing video games, Richie.
Just hanging about with other people.
Yeah, with others. Okay, number 2.
Next emotion.
Sadness.
Sadness.
Now,
Right.
despite what I may have said on the podcast, I cannot think of a game which has made me cry with sadness.
It would have to be like some big, long Japanese RPG. Like, you didn't give it a good boons when Aerith died. Spoilers.
No. Spoilers. No, really not. No, that wasn't. That was more a different emotion which might come up later.
Was it a wrestle?
Oh, dude. But I guess I've been tricked by video games into a feeling of like melancholy, and so I know. Alongside Mortal Kombat, we mentioned it almost every episode.
Yeah.
Gris or Gris, or how the fuck you pronounce it, probably is the saddest I've felt playing a game, just because it does everything in its power to manipulate you into, with the relentlessly driving from left to right and the nanometer deep. This is about depression and the stirring music and the struggle. But I feel that's very much, I've been you're duping my physiology into feeling these things successfully. But it's not that, something happened to a character on the screen and now that makes me really sad.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few indie darlings that are trying to tap into that sort of emotional point that you're sort of taking as well. So I'm thinking of Stray as well. It creates this weird sort of isolationist and perhaps like even going back to the days of like Ico, like you don't quite know what it is. It's creating that feeling of something. Now it's not necessarily sad. It's
like melancholy, right?
Yeah. It's nostalgia for something you didn't ever experience. I think I used that. What's that? The game that I always talk about with the cards in Japan, where it has the big monsters.
Friday Night Attack of the Friday Night Monsters.
Attack of the Friday Night Monsters. It's just like I loved how that game can sort of pull the heartstrings and make me feel like I was a kid in 1980s Japan. And there's something about the indie darlings where they just put very, very basic controls over great art and great soundtracks that allow you to really, feel more. Whereas in most games that you're gonna play, you're gonna straight up be getting a very loud action scream, blah 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 blah. Select your player, bleep bleep bleep, and then you choose it, go, and then you're like fighting and intense, because that is what you want, these visual hits, and you want the fruit machine colors going and big kablams and sound bursts, and that's what is exciting and exhilarating. That's what is a blockbuster. Whereas I would say that with a lot of the indie ones, they take you down that wistfulness.
But even then, with all those big blockbuster games, particularly when storied cinematic experiences, Gears of War and your Uncharted, they all have the death of a character as a story beat.
Yeah.
And I don't think, when whatever Dom or Marcus, whoever the fuck dies in Gears of War, there was no element of it like, oh god, not Dom. It's just, it's just this like, oh, okay. We're at this point of the story. Imagine like tearing up. You're choking to death on the idea of tearing up. Like, Dom, no. He was my favourite. Kebab in armour.
I decided to take a sip of tea, and it made me laugh.
Okay.
So I nearly died. Would you have been sad then?
No, you're just a side character I'm not that invested in. You know, from the minute the opening cutscene, I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna die. He's the
Richie or Farley, whichever one of them dies.
He's the emotional hook character who's gonna die in the penultimate act. So yeah, I don't think games particularly do sadness well generally as a story beat, but they can solicit it as a feeling.
Yeah.
As you're playing a game, I could be wrong. Yeah.
There was one incident which I've probably mentioned on the podcast before, which was which genuinely made me feel sad and made everybody around me laugh. Which was in Oblivion.
Yeah.
There is a mission where you have to go and infiltrate a party that's going on, and I think they're all vampires or something like that. But you need to put a poisoned apple on a table. So you're sneaking around, and then when no one's looking, you put the poisoned apple on the table. So you pause, you go into your inventory, you take it out, get it into your hand, and then you're going to place it down. I paused, waiting for... because I'd had to wait for everybody to not be looking, and just I was at the right moment. And instead of taking the apple and putting it into my hand, I just ate it. Just ate it. So straight away, pressed A, all you heard was the humph noise. And then the next noise you heard was me going, oh. And then everybody it was Doppelganger, he was playing with it, he just burst out laughing because he just knew exactly what happened, and it was just my dishevelled as I knew exactly what happened. Yeah.
Oh dear. I think we might have to just blow off Sucky and just do the emotions because we're running. We've got 4 more left.
Do you hear what you just said? Blow off Sucky.
Yeah, it's all deliberate. Deliberate.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it sounds natural. It's all deliberate. The next emotion. Are you ready for it?
Yeah. Let's run through this emotion, then we'll see what we've got left for.
Fear.
I mean, that's so easy. There has been several games that have scared the crap out of me through my life, and they are like usually games that are designed for that. Your Resident Evils, your Silent Hills, Layers of Fear, Fatal Frame. All these things are designed to make you cack your pants. Now, Layers of Fear is quite a special one because that does the jump scares, and it also kind of freaks you out because as you're walking, things change around you, and you feel lost, but it's taking you on the journey. Silent Hill, I mean, it has quite a disturbing psychological shenanigans going on there, and I'm not just talking about like there is combat and stuff like that, but the enemies themselves are freaky and they live in your subconscious. You know, they are quite special, Geiger-esque, Escher-esque, and Bosch-esque monsters. And
it's not what they do to you, because the combat in Silent Hill is famously quite slapstick. Right?
Yeah.
It's more the idea of them, and I think probably the worst one was in a trailer, I think, for Silent Hill: The Room, and it's the conjoined. It sounds really schlocky, but it's
the two babies that only have the hands.
Yeah, there's conjoined babies that have a hand.
Yeah,
and then they stand on one and point at you.
Yeah,
and then scream and then come running at you, and that when they get to you, they just kind of you and them awkwardly. Your hitboxes swirl around, and then they just kind of punch you until you die, which is ultimately not very scary. But everything up until that point is, that they see you, they're running at you, the fear you then have of seeing them again, and all of that, beyond just kind of taking you out in a way that's very different with something like Dead Space, which is full on gore. You get caught by one of these things,
visceral,
tear it, and that's not really scary. It's just a bit like, ugh, okay, that's a bit gross, and now I have to start again. Whereas with Silent Hill, there would be like, I'm putting the controller down and I'm revisiting this for another point.
So literally 2 days ago, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I have Silent Hill 4. I'll give it another go. And I literally was just in the apartment and I was like, I don't remember what to do, but I'm scared to go into another room.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop playing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Just the idea of like, the head falling from the window or the slippers moving around or...
Not even, I've forgotten everything. All like, there was a face in the wall and I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Did something happen there? And then I walked up to the door and I was like, oh, do I look through the people? Or
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, and oh God.
Oh, it's just tapping into all those like quite childhood fears as well, right?
Yes.
About, looking through that hole, imagining what's on the other side, imagining what's behind you as you're going down the stairs with the light off. It's that kind of tapping into that. And famously, with the Japanese horror lore around toilets, there's a lot of toilet play in Silent Hill, which doesn't quite resonate the same with us, but
there's that whole thing about water in Japanese culture being the veil between the spirits, and that is like ingrained as a cultural thing, whereas we just don't have it at all.
No. Some fear examples which spring to mind. Definitely PT, which pulls out all those cheap tricks in terms, having fun with a virtual space. You turn around and you see something, you turn around again, it's not there. Things changing, an endless corridor.
Yeah.
That's right up there with being really quite scary to play. And then some games just manage to nail the tension. So I think I've mentioned a couple of times before, but Dementium the Ward, which I think is getting a Switch re-release, is a DS game, right? Doom level graphics, really hard to play, and it's just the pacing of it, the level design. It's set around escaping a kind of mental hospital, but there's just something about the mechanics of where the monsters come from and how difficult it is to kind of like accurately shoot them. It just fucks me up. It really fucks me up. Even though it's not, on a big screen and you're sitting in the living room, it's on a DS screen, right? It can't hurt you. It's small and the sound is quite tinny and the graphics are quite basic, but
I hear you. Yeah.
Combining those elements to kind of maximize fear in a way where other games, which I think have billed themselves as being scary, aren't necessarily. And then the game that you're never going to play, or maybe you did try and play it, Silent Hill Shattered Memories. In particular,
that was on the Wii, wasn't it?
Yeah, on the Wii. Which is all about, it has these psychological elements. It starts with you at your therapist, and you do various kind of tasks for the therapist, and that changes what happens in your playthrough. But where in other Silent Hill games, you're in the nice world but creepy world, and then it changes to whatever. The theme is ice in Shattered Memories, and when everything's ice is over, it's not quite like the other Silent Hills in that you just have to fucking run. There's nothing you can do. You run, kind of back through the level you've just been, to try and get out. And in the meantime, there are these horrible screaming creatures which are running after you. If they get you, you have to kind of waggle them off, but in a way that is, I think, designed to not quite. It's very hard to like nail how you waggle them off, and that is just pure adrenaline fear when you're in when it ices over. Like, oh fuck! I have to get out. There's nothing I can do. It's horrible, but it's over, right? It's just running. I think that's captured. That's captured like the fear of that thing behind you, because you can hear them screaming, and as you're bursting through these doors, you'll like see one on the left. You go, now there's 5 of them following me. Jesus Christ, I have to get out.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's almost as effective as all the psychological bits and pieces throughout the non-running away sections of the game.
Yeah. No, I get you and I feel that. And yeah, and I briefly mentioned it as well. Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
Like that whole appeal of like
It's brilliant.
You are going through a mansion and it's fine. You can't see the ghosts, but you have to see them. So you actually have to get that camera up in order to see them, in order to get rid of them, and then you get these pictures, and it's like they are really weird ghosts as well. Some horrific, some have like different deaths. You remember like 13 Ghosts? That horror film, and I think that hits a special level because it almost it full on gives you the illusion of choice. You had to pick up the camera and you had to look through it in order to get a good picture and eliminate the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, Fear. I think we're way past break time.
Okay. Well, Doki time. It's halfway through the podcast. More than halfway through the podcast. It's break time.
Break time.
Break time.
Break time.
In break time, we ask each other a card. Do you have your cards?
Yes, I do.
Great. We ask each other a card from the ultimate video game trivia. And readers at home can keep score. We're not doing very well collectively or competitively.
Yeah, I think I'm doing better than you.
Slightly, yes. Are you ready?
Okay, right. Are you prepped and ready to receive my question?
Yes.
Then receive my question now.
Okay.
In Tom Clancy's The Division.
No chance.
On what day of the year is a virus spread throughout New York through infected banknotes?
There's got to be something American. Is it July the 4th?
No. Think banknotes.
9/11.
No. When would Americans be spending the most amount of money?
Black Friday.
Yeah, well done, Farley.
First time, nailed it.
Good beats.
What was the first 3D game in the Bomberman video game series?
Bomberman 3D.
You're very close.
Super Bomberman 3D.
You're worse, so closer.
Bomberman 3.
Possibly in the timeline, but that's not what it's called. When did other games make a jump to 3D?
Bomberman 64.
Yeah, well done!
Yay! Nice,
First time.
nice.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Here's another one you definitely know. Are you ready?
I've got to keep the streak up now. There's the pressure.
Which civilization
Yeah.
can use war elephants in Age of Empires 2?
Oh, I was listening to a podcast about Age of Empires 2. War elephants. Right. So that's like... Oh, God. Is it...
Think 300.
Yeah, I was going to say... Was it Greece? Sparta?
No.
Rome?
The ones that they went up against.
Persia?
Yeah, well done, Farley.
Nailed it!
First time.
First time. Wow, okay, come on, Richie. I think it's the first time we'll have all four if you get this one.
Okay.
And it's a Resident Evil question as well, which is our specialist subject.
Oh, God.
What is the family name of the main antagonists of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard?
I have no idea. I haven't played Village.
It's a professional village. It's the other one you've not played. Which is any after 4, right? It's like a occupational name. You know how some people's jobs
Smith.
ended up. Keep going.
Thatcher.
More food oriented.
Butcher.
More like pastries.
Baker.
Oh my god!
Hey, nailed it first time.
4 for 4. Wow.
Good
What
stuff.
an episode. I don't even know much about Tom Clancy now. I just don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I mean, it was the clue. It was the clue in the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just thought about it.
Yeah.
Well, that was break time, everybody.
And what a break time it was. Now,
Yes.
we're supposed to return to Sucky.
Sucky. And actually, these emotions do kind of sucky. So,
There we go. Doki, Sucky.
the first emotion, are you ready?
Ready.
Disgust.
So, playing a game and you feel absolutely disgusted by what you've seen on the screen.
Yeah. Not afraid. Maybe a bit afraid. Not sad. Maybe a bit sad. Definitely not happy. Disgust.
Disgust. I mean, there has been games that I've played that have been so awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, actually, we should go back to Fiendish Freddy, because that really did cause some reviling. You remember it, yeah?
With the clowns.
Yeah, with the clowns, and not just that, it's like the guy who's like, do you remember he has to dive off a board into increasingly smaller and smaller
Yeah.
things, and then there was like, he would like go into a thimble and it would just be this crushed corpse, and this is all Commodore 64 graphics.
Yeah.
Very good.
But that is way more effective than like Dead Space. You see somebody plop out your eye with a syringe. Is that because it's so out of place?
Yeah.
I remember there's the other one where are you on a unicycle trying to go across a
trapeze.
you're on the trapeze,
Yeah.
and you know the first level it's a bit difficult, and at some point someone just throws fucking swords at you that cut you in half.
Yeah.
You're like,
You do a full-on Darth Maul.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to. Here I was at the circus, just
Trying to waggle my joystick to get across.
Yeah, trying to do the high wire, avoiding the obstacles, straightening myself up. Just dead murdered.
Yeah. Straight up and bisected. Legs are still on the tightrope, but your torso is just falling to the ground, still holding on to the balancing stick.
But because it's so unanticipated, the immediate reaction is like, oh.
Yeah. So,
even though it's essentially stick men, which are, you're seeing on screen.
I suppose I've got to bring up some of the Mortal Kombat fatalities.
Oh, come on, dude.
They definitely did touch a nerve. Some of them are quite minging. Some of them are jokes, of course, and you could just see them reusing the same assets. I was like, oh, you've exploded into skeleton bits, and that's the same skeleton bits from this other guy's fatality. It was easy to start to normalize the fatalities, but I think some of them, when you did them for the first time, they were pretty disgusting.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think some of the earlier ones are more disgusting than the you see it all happen in X-ray, seconds long cutscene of the modern ones.
That becomes cartoony. The thing about the original Mortal Kombat was it was actually mocaps of people, so it felt a little bit more real because it was behind the pixels that made those people before. So I don't know. Oh,
sidebar. I watched the Mortal Kombat film. I've been ill recently. So
okay.
It was fine.
Fine, yeah.
Odd choice of characters to focus on. You're more than halfway through the movie. It's like, oh yeah, Liu Kang and the hat guy here. Okay.
But yeah, I like.
Why is Kano like a main character?
Well, Kano was like one of the original crew.
Yeah, but not that you'd focus most of the film around him. And then who is it? The flying Batwoman.
The flying Batwoman.
Yeah.
Megan Fox or no? Nitara.
Yeah. She gets done raw. You see her for 2 seconds, and then she gets fatalities.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, Nitara is like... I only really know her from Mortal Kombat 1. I think she was in Mortal Kombat 4.
Yeah.
And I never really played Mortal Kombat 4. That's a weird one for me. That was... I think it was N64. And,
but still,
Yeah.
if you main her, you're like, oh yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
And then she just gets thrown away on a fatality because you've got to kill some characters off in order to keep the tension going. Be gutted.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's fine.
Postal as well. That was pretty revilous as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit racist. It was a little bit... I think it was a little bit raw with a lot of the jokes that were trying to be just OTT.
Mm-hmm.
So they literally had jihadi people running around, doing that trilling and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, like, why are you calling it that? Why are you doing it that way? And like, ugh. And like you could just piss on yourself to put yourself out in fire and stuff like that. So it was kind of, this is quite a disgusting game to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for the ick factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than that is disgusting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I can't think of much more that I reviled as games.
I think the two which come to mind are extremely cartoony games, which is interesting, perhaps. So one of which is Little King Story, which is an excellent game, which is a cartoonish. You play as a little king, kind of sort of like Pikmin, basically. But as the game goes on, you start by attacking the adjoining kingdom, and then you beat a boss, then you own that kingdom. But as it goes on, you just get this sinking feeling of like, are we the bad guys, actually?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, and it's really, really well, really, really subtly, by the end, almost, I know that Shadow of the Colossus also gets this. You're really pained about, like, I really don't want to be conquering this last king, essentially genociding, even though all the characters are fairly cartoony, but if you look hard enough, they're very close to stereotypes from history, and that's at the end when you get this like great celebration screen. You don't feel celebratory at all, and it's deliberate, very, very deliberate. So that's like a creeping disgust. And again, if you look at a screenshot of Little King Story, nothing of that is screaming like, "Oh, that's disgusting." But it builds that. You're disgusted in your own actions, in what you have to do, and also the fact of it that as a player is because when you're playing a game, you often have opponents or antagonists. Is you quite easily just steamroll through the first two kingdoms without even thinking about it. You've been given a threadbare excuse, like they are the enemies and you are the good guys. And it starts to creep on you, like, oh god, yeah, just steamrolled those first two kingdoms, and then they're not really doing anything to us, and then we've got this sprawling kind of kingdom. Yeah, growing disgust. And then the last one most recently was a very famous scene in It Takes Two, which is the co-op story game. You get shrunk down, and then
Yeah.
there's one particular point. I don't really want to spoil it for anybody, so I'll try and talk around it. Where, in order to kind of make your way back to your daughter, you have to do something which there's nothing grim on the screen really. But what you have to do is, like me and my friend playing it were almost, couldn't look at the screen whilst we were doing it. And it's not anything super grim. It's just the way that you're kind of forced into it. It's just horrible. Really horrible. And that's probably the most disgusted I've felt playing a game for a long, long time. Yeah. So make sure you play it, and when you get to that bit, there are articles about this one bit of the game. And also I think for people who are maybe playing it with younger family members, that fucked people up a little bit.
Okay.
But again, it's not. Yeah, again, it's not like, a head's popping off or eyeballs are popping out. It's just otherwise innocuous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
One other one that popped into my head, which is just in your picture of as well. It's from a game called Reloaded on the PS1. Did you ever play that one?
No, but I remember. Was it an early PS1 game?
Very, very early. So there was a game called Loaded, and then I think like a week later, Reloaded came out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the art style in that was like super comic booky, but very, very realistic. But there was one character that always stuck out in my head. There was a character called Captain Hands.
Yeah.
Who was basically just a sort of biomechanical skeleton robot thing with big arms, and has a pirate hat. But yeah, it was very, very creepy just because he's got like this exposed rib cage and spine, and then he's got the things attached. And I think that that stuck in my head for a long time. Just that image, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I can see it. Yeah, I can see why. I just like his like, I don't know, tombstone data as well. Name, Captain Hands. Crime, genocide. Speed, fast. Weapon, retro ballistas.
Special.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah, it's just like one of those things. It's quite different to the other categories there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Right.
Now,
next.
one which I don't really have much for, but I think you probably have oodles for. It's anger.
Anger. Angry at games. Oh my god. Right, so I suppose first couple I've talked about them before, and many times before, which was Dead or Alive, the 360 one. I can't remember which one it was. That alpha boss character who was just so cheaty. Like if you look her up on Google, there are many people who will corroborate my story as to how cheaty she was. And it was so frustrating. And it was, I think, if you didn't kill her, it was like you had to go back to the start, sort of thing. And I got so angry. I had a Sony K800 mobile phone. I got so angry, I grabbed my phone and I threw it at my wall, and the phone actually went flat face first against the wall. It left an imprint of the entire phone flat, including the keys and the section. So there's actually an indent in my wall where I've smashed the phone against it. The phone didn't break.
Yeah.
Just to be very, very clear, the phone did not break. But I was so angry. I took which was like £100 phone.
Yeah.
Or maybe more. At that time, it was like, it was newish. And I was so angry, I just whipped it across the room at stupid Alpha 52 or whatever it is. Oh my god. Stupid Dead or Alive. I don't think I've really properly invested in a Dead or Alive game since.
No, and then wasn't it Dead or Alive that you
had to pay everything to get everything extra in it or something?
No, isn't that the one that you hopped online and that basically got getting destroyed and you're like you burned out? Was that a different fighting game series?
I don't think I've ever played any fighting games online.
I think you suppressed the memory.
I think
it was definitely one where you hopped online and then maybe it was Soul Calibur.
No, it was Gears of War.
No, it was a fighting game for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Dead or Alive. Let's just say it's Dead or Alive.
Yeah, I mean, I have no allegiance to Dead or Alive at all. The other anger, of course, would be that moment in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time where there are whirlpools that you need to navigate, and to navigate them you need to use boots, iron boots, and then you need to take them on and off so that you can sort of basically float.
Just say the water temple. Everyone knows what you mean.
Yeah, cool. But if you get pulled into one of the streams, you'll then get pushed back to an earlier point in the level, and you have to renegotiate getting back to that point where you have to get past the whirlpools. Enemies, of course, respawn in every room, so you're constantly just going through this loop to try and get to a point where you did it. Anyway, I got so angry, and we've talked about this before, I grabbed the N64 controller, twisted it, and the front and back shell where they come together and had prized apart, and then I kind of let go, and then as the two front and parts of the shell
so correct
came back together, they took a massive chunk out of my palm. And I think on one of our previous podcasts, you came to the revelation that somewhere in one of my controllers, there is a bit of Richie jerky.
Yeah, just a dried little chunk of Richie just rattling around on the inside.
Yeah.
You can hear it if you shake it. Gross. Some other times I think you got angry at video games. Do you remember the final boss fight in Pokemon Legends Arceus?
Oh yeah, still haven't done it.
I'd completely forgotten about it until I don't know, I saw a video and I was like, oh my god, that was so painful, because basically it's just like for whatever mental reason, never had this in Pokemon before, and they start to introduce it in the early bosses in this game, and okay, fine, it's a bit of like moving and dodging, and then the last two are particularly brutal. But the last one is, a classic boss fight. It's got many phases. You just have to learn the pattern. But because you're so helpless, you have virtually no moves. You've got like a roll, which stamina's out. I think the bit that really grates is you can only get hit twice. And the second time you get hit, it's not like you explode. You just kind of like sit down, and then you have to reload the boss fight. And it's just that you're not straight back into it, and you've not exploded or died. It's that like passive, just kind of sitting down, waiting for 2 seconds as Arceus is still doing his like poppy shit, and then get into it again. Yeah, infuriating.
Yes, very, very infuriating. And yeah, like I just have not loaded Arceus since.
But why do you think those games make you get angry? I don't often get angry. Like I'll swear and I'll shout, but in a frustrated. But
has
it ever boiled over into like a physical reaction. It's like,
I don't know. I mean that's a lot about me as a person. But yeah, no, I think I don't really particularly like not being good at things, even though I'm not good at a lot of things.
Don't put yourself down, buddy.
But with video games, I tend to think I am reasonably good. Especially things like 3D action shooters and things like that. Well, not shooters, action slashers and beat 'em ups and things like that. But yeah, I think when you just get to one of these horrible moments where it's just like, I mean, Arceus just really felt like it came out of nowhere. It's like the other bosses you could cheese without worrying, and this one was just, this is awful. And it was like, I've been doing this for an hour and a half. I still haven't beaten. I feel no. Going back to happiness, there will be a fleeting joy of, oh, thank God I've done it.
Yeah.
But then there's,
I never have to do this again.
But then there's the crushing realization that you spent 2 hours getting past an awful mechanic. Awful. You know.
I particularly like, there is definitely a spiral, right? Particularly if you have to do like a challenge, and like 3D Mario games often have those weird bits which are particularly difficult. You have to run a course and collect a whole bunch of things within a time limit, and if you don't do it, you have to go back to the beginning and reset it. And there's definitely I would love to see if anyone's studied what's going on here, because it feels really familiar, where you'll get super far on your first run, even though you're essentially going into it blind. You're like, okay, all right, okay, this is how it works.
Yeah, exactly. You've got this false confidence.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going. Yeah.
Then you might get incrementally further a little bit, but then make mistakes you didn't make the first time when you were doing it blind. Then you just fall into the trough, right? Where you can't, and then it gets nearer and nearer to the beginning when you start cocking up, and then at the point where you're like, okay, just concentrate. You're not even getting off the starting blocks, right? Or you're facing the wrong direction when you walk through the flag, and you're like, okay, I need just calm down, and you slowly build back up to mastery, and then eventually get it done. And it's really interesting that what is going on in the brain to fairly often recreate that same pattern.
It's flow. It's all flow. So you were in a state of flow when you first went through that level for the first time. So you're hyper aware. You're slightly faster reactions, and you're in that zone. Nothing else is distracting you. You die, and then you're like, oh fuck, I'm out of flow. Then you go back and do it, and it's like, I can't get back in the groove. I can't get back in the groove. And then eventually you have to just keep playing, and the constant restarts just get you into a different state of flow.
Yeah.
But that's all it is. Yeah.
Or you start overthinking it. It's like when you think about when you're walking down the road, do I walk funny? And then you cannot walk normally because you're then thinking too hard about it.
Yeah, or what do I do with my hands?
And then all of a sudden, you're the most awkward person in the world who's got these two jelly things that doesn't really know what to do on the end of the arms.
The best one is just as you're falling asleep, worrying, wait a minute, is my breathing actually autosomatic?
Mine is when I can't sleep. I'll be like, how do I normally go to sleep? And then that's it. Might as well get up. There's no chance.
I have triggers for helping myself get to sleep. You have to choose a narrative in your head to help you get back to sleep. And I've got really, really good at it. I think there was a time in uni where I was heavily in debt. I was struggling with exams. And I just how can I sleep when I've got all of these worries? And I had to teach myself to, you don't think about those things. You have to focus and think on something else so that you can get a good night's sleep, so that you can solve those problems tomorrow. And I think it was a Deep Space Nine episode or something stupid, a throwaway comment that was just like, close your eyes and think of nothing. But instead of thinking of nothing, I start thinking of Deep Space Nine things, and that helps me fall asleep. But it's changed over the years. I have different narratives for different things, and that is what I concentrate on whenever I have those horrible nights where you're just like, oh shit, I need to do this for work tomorrow, or oh my god, if I don't do this is going to be awful. And then there's this, like, you know, you get the cold sweats, and you're like, shit, what did I do? And then you have to just sort of turn it off and think, you go back, think about what the narrative was to get you back to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's just been simple things like I will try and recount my talent spec for my warlock, and that was a couple of years ago. That was it. I was rethinking my talent spec.
I mean, it's such a mental system, but I almost don't want to say anything about it because I don't want to run the risk of like undermining it and then just, you know, you never be able to sleep again.
No. Like,
just it is what it is. It works. But I know what you mean. And so recently, in my mission to kind of hoover up all the original trainer trade legendary Pokemon in the old games, I've now hit the DS. I've been on the DS for a while. And resonating with something you've said many times, there's just such a nice joy about a system like a DS where you can... It's portable, right? So you can play it in bed, you can play it sat watching the TV in a way that you can't quite with a Switch. But just doing that, trying to complete ridiculous challenges which I should have done when I had my full teams and items, and now I'm trying to cobble it together. But I've managed to sleep better in the last couple of weeks, thinking about like, okay, what kind of team should I build to beat the, you know, to maximize getting XP and money and beating the Black Tower, so then I can unlock, you know, so then I can get the whatever shiny
definitely and
Gibble and and I just drift off thinking about that.
Yeah, and exactly. I've actually had similar narratives, and this was back when it was, I think it was Sun and Moon, and I had my Ribombi and Oricorio dual team. I was so happy and so satisfied, and was like, oh, I can't wait to get this move on them.
Yeah.
That I was like following through, and just having that happy thought in my head.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like, it's obviously enough to keep your brain occupied and off of the how do I normally sleep, why can't I sleep, life problems, but not too much that you're wide awake because you're fully engaged in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, right, so
great.
What was that one? That was
Anger.
But
we kind of ended up on Serenity, I guess, or sleep. The last one from the very authoritative website, verywellmind.com, is surprise, and that's bullshit. That's not an emotion. So I think surprise.
Surprise! That guy's a maniac.
What about me?